members of the families of our fallen soldiers, the Minister of Defense and military veterans, ministers and premiers, deputy ministers and executive mayors, the Chief of the South African National Defense Force, the Secretary for Defense, members of the Plenary Defense Staff Council, members of the Military Command, generals, admirals, flag officers, chaplain general, religious leaders present here, ladies and gentlemen, I salute you all today on behalf of the government of South Africa and on behalf of the commanders and soldiers of the South African National Defense Force. We humbly greet you all in the name of the fallen heroes of the South African National Defense Force. We've gathered here to pay tribute to our young servicemen who are part of the South African National Defense Force contingent who lost their lives in combat last week. The attack on our base in the outskirts of the capital of the Central African Republic, Bangui, saw the loss of 13 young and brave men and resulted in the injury of 27 of our young soldiers. The ceremony to receive their mortal remains was held on Thursday at the Waterkloof Air Force Base, whilst the injured servicemen are being cared for at one military hospital. Bereaved families, compatriots and friends from every corner of our country, South Africans have addressed themselves to this matter and expressed their pain and outrage at the death of our soldiers. The 13th heroes who bravely fought to protect their own are the following: Corporal Mokhati Dairas Sikamela, Corporal Tebaleng Andrew Makhorosi, Lance Corporal Daniel Silo Molara, Lance Corporal Lucas Mohapi Tseke, Rifleman Lesego Maxwell Herzog, Rifleman Zamani Jim Khosana, Rifleman Kolani Dlamini, Rifleman Vusumzi Joseph Ngaleka, Rifleman Karabo Edwin Machecha, Rifleman Komotso Paul Msenga, Rifleman Malesane Samuel Tulo, Rifleman Mustamai William Bojane, and Rifleman Tabiso Anton Primana. We salute them and honor them for the supreme sacrifice they have paid for the achievement of peace in Africa. They fought side by side as true soldiers, fighting off a large group of rebels who had attacked the South African military base. Though it may seem as they were outnumbered, they were able to hold their own in a battle that lasted over 9 hours. As South Africans, we should be truly proud of these soldiers. There are those who merely talk about South Africa and our wonderful freedom, rights and privileges, and the need for peace and progress in the African continent. Then there are those who are always ready to attack, to act, to promote the integrity of the Republic of South Africa and to contribute to the building of a peaceful and prosperous Africa. Our fallen heroes were in that latter category. The tears of grief from the families are both inevitable and deserved because of the caliber of men we have lost. To the families, the pain is shared by thousands of South Africans in many corners of the country and the continent. When future generations ask what kind of men and women these were, who gave so much of their lives to the service of the people of South Africa and the continent, we will be able to boldly say how special they were to put their own lives at risk for such a noble mission of building peace in the continent. Compatriots, this is a period of mourning, a period in which we must pay our respects and honor these selfless compatriots who remained true to the oath of office that they took when they joined the South African National Defence Force. Unfortunately, there are those who have decided to use this period of mourning to try and dishonor the memory of our heroes by peddling various unfounded allegations and conspiracy theories. There has been a deliberate attempt to cast doubt and distort the purpose of Operation Vimbezela, our mission in Central African Republic. Will not be sidetracked by those who are on a perpetual campaign against the democratic government. Let me emphasize that we reject any insinuation that these soldiers were sent to the Central African Republic for any reason other than in pursuit of national interests and the interests of the African continent. Our national servicemen died for a worthy cause. They died in defense of the country's foreign policy. They died defending our commitment to the renewal of the African continent and to the promotion of peace and stability, which would lead to sustainable development in Africa. Our foreign policy is premised on the vision of building a better Africa and a better world. It is built on the foundation of Ubuntu and an understanding that we cannot be an island of peace and prosperity if our neighbors still battle with conflicts and poverty. We believe that as an integral part of the African continent, we must develop together with our neighbors in the continent. Our belief in a free and prosperous Africa dates back a century. Our ultimate vision of the type of Africa we want to see is best encapsulated in the April 1906 essay by one of the founding fathers of this free South Africa, Pix Legaizaga Seme, entitled The Regeneration of Africa. We are inspired when Dr. Seme states, and I quote, "The brighter day is rising upon Africa. Already I seem to see her chains dissolved, her desert plains red with harvest, her Abyssinia and her Zululand, the seats of science and religion, reflecting the glory of the rising sun from spires of their churches and universities. Her Congo and her Gambia, whitened with commerce, her crowded cities sending forth the hum of business, and all her sons employed in advancing the victories of peace, greater and more abiding than the spoils of war." Unquote. This is the Africa that these heroic soldiers sought to build, and it is this Africa that their children and grandchildren must live in. Inspired by such a vision, South Africa sent soldiers to the Central African Republic in response to a directive of the African Union in 2007. During that year, the African Union Peace and Security Council directed that its member states should, quote and unquote, in the name of African solidarity, provide support for the socio-economic recovery and the consolidation of peace and stability in the Central African Republic, which had gone through periods of instability. Measures proposed included, among others, assisting towards the defense and security sector. In February 2007, South Africa signed the Defense Cooperation Memorandum of Understanding with the Central African Republic, Operation Vimbezela. In line with this AU directive, the aim of this operation was for South Africa to assist in the training of the Central African Republic Army. The military training included the protection force, VIP protection, training of group leaders, specialists and infantry refurbishment of bases and barracks, and the provision of equipment. When the security situation in the Central African Republic deteriorated in the late 2012, our government made an assessment that resulted in the deployment of 200 additional troops in the Central African Republic as a protection force for the trainers and the military assets that were already in that country. These additional soldiers were not trainers. They were not deployed to train, but as a protection force for the trainers. The South African National Defence Force is continuing with its assessment and appreciation of the events that led to this tragedy. This assessment is standard in the Defence Force. It is necessary in order to avoid similar losses of lives in future and current deployments. The problem in South Africa is that everybody wants to run the country. Government must be given the space to do its work of running the country, to implement the policies of the ruling party that was voted into office by millions of our people. There must also be an appreciation that military matters and decisions are not matters that are discussed in public, other than to share broader policy with the public. No country discusses its military strategy in public in the manner in which South Africa is expected to do those who are engaged in this game should be careful not to endanger both the national interests and the security of the Republic while pursuing, among others, and partly political goals. Nowhere in the world can a defense force discuss its tactics, strategies, including the past and the current and the future. Military matters are military matters. They are not social matters. And I wish and hope that South Africans will appreciate this and therefore know which line not to cross for the sake of the country. Compatriots, we are continuing to consult the Central African region and the African Union on this matter. I will tomorrow attend the extraordinary summit of the Economic Community of Central African States, convened by the chairman, the President of Chad, to discuss the situation in the Central African Republic. We will be guided by the continent as to what to do next. We have to take our decision, what happens, what is our next step, on the basis of the discussions and consultations with the region, as well as with the AU. South Africa will continue to work for the regeneration of the continent, as guided by our founding leaders. Very profound for this continent which has been troubled for centuries. How do we bring it back to prosperity? It's a task of every African in this continent. We are a country with a rich and noble history of building peace and friendship with the world. One of the outstanding men to whom we owe our freedom, former ANC President Mr. Oliver Tambo, said in 1977, addressing the first Congress of the Angolan ruling party, the MPLA, in Luanda, he stated as follows, and I quote, "We seek to live in peace with our neighbors and the peoples of the world in conditions of equality, mutual respect, and equal advantage," unquote. In this vein, may the blood of our heroic soldiers that has been shed so untimely contribute to the building of lasting peace in our continent. May it lead us to a period where there shall be an end to the unconstitutional changes of power and government in Africa, where soldiers decide to take over government by force instead of through the ballot box. The African Union Constitutive Act pronounces strongly its condemnation of unconstitutional changes in government. We remain committed to play our part to make peace, democracy, and good governance take root in our beloved continent. Compatriots, as you would be aware, we meet as well just a few days after losing 5 of our soldiers in an air crash at Kruger National Park. Whilst on a mission to protect our treasure resource, our rhinos. It is indeed a difficult period for the South African National Defence Force and a nation at large. It is said that, quote unquote, the value of a man should be seen in what he gives and not in what he is able to receive. These words fit all these fallen heroes who gave their all. They gave much to their work. May the fond memories of all these fallen compatriots remain with us forever. On behalf of government, we pass our sincere and heartfelt condolences to all the families of the fallen heroes. Sithi emindenini elahlekelwe duduzekani. Siyazi kubuhlungu kodwa amaqhawe ethu afele umsebenzi wokwakha ukuthula noxolo eAfrika. Siyaziqhenya ngalamaqhawe ethu onke. May their souls rest in peace. Mabalale ngoxolo. God bless Africa. I thank you.